The design of our streets affects the way that we behave in them. Until the publication of Manual for Streets, all of our street design was about instructing us and controlling us on the way that we behave in our streets. The publication of Manual for Streets recognises a change of approach by designers and practitioners over the past 20 years. Most people involved in the design of the public realm are now familiar with the content of Manual for Streets. However, while it's apparent that most people understand the content of Manual for Streets, there is a lack of understanding of how to apply it to real situations. The public realm is the circulatory system of our cities, towns and villages. We can't achieve good quality community interaction without public spaces and places that enable good interaction. It's a place to gather and to play, and importantly, a place where we can celebrate collectively. It's our place, and what's often overlooked is that it's not owned by the Highways Agency or some local authority. It's owned collectively by us. We pay to make it, we pay to maintain it, to repair it and to extend it. Civic virtue is about each of us investing in a common aim and trusting that this will result in a better result for us all. If you look at the signs we write to each other, you could be forgiven for thinking that the public realm was anything but civil. Ordering each other around via signage is far from good civil behaviour. And yet, most of our streets are designed on just that basis, full of signs telling us how to behave and where to turn at every point. To change this, we have to focus on collaboration, not on competition. If we collaborate, we start by agreeing that we'll share the space. We work together to understand how we want to use the space and how we want it to feel, and therefore resolve our differences. Good design is a satisfactory and stable way of resolving these issues, whereas compromise is inherently unstable. I say resolve and not solve because there's not a single answer as to how a street should be, but there are good and bad ways to resolve the problems it poses. Manual for Streets is about controlling less and allowing more. Our streets are full of controlling regulations, and mostly these are instructions for us to behave in a non-intuitive way. Controlling regulations are incredibly inefficient in terms of instruction and response. But most importantly, they tend to undermine good community interaction and often generate antisocial behaviour. Allowing regulations employ our intuition. They require no enforcement since they're resolved on the spot through negotiation. In streets, people on foot and on bikes, in wheelchairs, pushing buggies, are mixing with people in vehicles. Inappropriate vehicle speeds are the key hazard in this kind of environment. So acceptably safe is first and foremost about identifying the hazards in a street. Once you've identified the hazards, and that might be the obvious one, is to do with vehicle speeds, we then look to say, can we remove those hazards completely, or can we mitigate the hazards that remain? There's no sense in trying to remove something that's very much a part of the street. So often what we're trying to do is reduce vehicle speeds and mitigate other hazards. The third and critical point of the process, once you've got rid of the hazards that you can, reduce the others to a level that's sensible, is to raise awareness of the remaining hazard. So for people driving cars, people on bikes, for people walking, as long as we're all very aware of the level of hazard that we're in, that's a reasonable and acceptable level of safety. So we're aiming for acceptable safety, not absolute safety, which is unobtainable. We're trying to make streets where people are allowed to behave normally rather than controlling and regulating behaviour. We should be aiming to collaborate in order to resolve our differences, not compete and compromise on a poor result. We should direct our agencies to do the things we want on our streets and not the other way around. Our streets should be about good, normal civil behaviour, and they should support and help our normal community lives to flourish. This is our place.